Hello and welcome back. It is Eddie Radosevich, Bob Przybylo. I almost said George. Stoya. It's just out of habit, Bob. I promise that I will be better. I've been trying to be better all week. Oklahoma is a top 10 basketball team in the country, coming off of an 81-47 victory over Green Bay on Saturday evening. I was dying. I had the flu. I could not make it. It felt weird. It's weird watching games at the Lloyd Noble Center and not being there. But another really good performance, and a performance, Bob, that was kind of basically littered with runs, a 15-0 run and a 17-0 run. We'll get into the game here in a second. Real quick, signing day special. Early National Signing Day coming up on Wednesday for everybody out there. For a number of guys, we have a bunch of stuff planned at Soonerscoop.com. It's a great time to join Soonerscoop.com. $54.99 for 1 year of unlimited access to Bob, to me, to George, to Carrie, to Josh, to everybody over at Soonerscoop.com. $54.99, a really good deal for everybody out there. So, welcome back to the Soonerscoop.com YouTube page. It is the Soonerhoop.com Hoops Report. Oklahoma now 10-0 on the season, and a big one coming up on Wednesday against North Carolina. Just overall, your thoughts on a relatively easy win on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it was 21-20, and you're like, what the heck's going on here? Porter calls the timeout, rights the ship, team takes off. 15-0 run to end the first half. 22-0 run in the second half, and it's like, okay, now everyone can breathe. That last week was very interesting, just across the board. A lot of people losing games they shouldn't have been. No one expected OU to be in a contest with Green Bay in the second half. Finally took care of business, and just a sign that this team's maturing. Otega Oweh with 7 steals, the most for a player at OU since 1999. Just the way they can turn their defense into offense, as Porter loves to say, DCO, defense creates offense. That was in rare form Saturday night. It was
incredible. And, just watching it from a home, obviously, on Saturday evening, it was kind of one of those things that you look at it and it's like, okay, this makes sense. They needed this little bit of a comeback down, and then all of a sudden he called that timeout and they went off.
Exactly. And it's like they understood the message. They weren't concerned about the tone, because Porter said he lit up and he lit them up, but they weren't worried about the tone of the message, but they understood the message. And those 5 guys said, okay, let's go out there. Let's start taking care of business the way that we know we should, the way that we know that we can, and let's walk on out here and start getting ready for the heels.
No doubt about it. Porter Moser, after the game, talked about what was said when he called the timeout when it was 21-20 in the first half.
It was great. It was 21-20. I called the timeout. They run a pack defense, so they were just packing in, so we weren't getting driving lines. And then we were, probably were trying to go inside a little bit too much. We had about 3 or 4 stagnant possessions just trying to pound it into John, and they were just sagging around him, and everyone else was standing around. So that's what we told the timeout. I go, all right, we got a quick post. If not, let's get our movement going again. We were I think got stagnant with that. Everyone just packing it in. It almost became like a zone when we were packed in. And then we just said, it's got to start with our energy. Let's get the transition going. Let's get out. And we amped up our press a little bit more. We thought we could get our athleticism into the game. And I thought the guys did a good job in the press. But, I think they had 20 points with 5.5 left in the half. And I think 5.5 left in the game, they had 30. So I think we really guarded. So I thought that's what we got to do. That's what winning teams got to do, is whether you're stagnant or whether you're missing good shots or missing whatever you're doing offensively, you can't let it affect you on the defensive end. And I thought we were playing hard every possession defensively.
Bob, Oklahoma forced 20 turnovers on Saturday, and I think that, when you look at what Porter Moser, even in the first 2 years, as bad as it was and the final outcome of ball games on the scoreboard, they did get after people defensively, and you're starting to see that a little bit here with this group as well.
Yeah, you're just seeing it at a next level with guys like Latrey Darthard, Waldo Soares coming off the bench. Those are guys that aren't just giving you minutes, but they give you production on the defensive end of the floor. Like, you don't have to look at their stat line and look at the points and things like that. What they bring on defense is where they're shining the most, and that's just stuff, again, they didn't have those first 2 seasons. When you have that experience, that production, that poise when they know what their role is and what they need to do on defense, it has been showing time and time again.
Porter Moser did talk about the defense and the continued production, what they're getting from the DCO after the game on Saturday.
I think the group had 3 guys off the bench. I think it was John, Waldo, Latre, Javion, and Ortega, if I'm not mistaken. And they went on like a 15 or 16-0 run. That group had tremendous, and think about it. It was 3 guys off the bench that did it. That just shows you the depth different times. I thought Waldo continues to give us. It was great to Latre to see some go in today. I think Toby just told me, I think that might be the most steals since 1995 by a player unofficially. So that's been 7 steals in a game. That's 28 years, if my math is great. And I thought it was anticipating. I think he's getting his athleticism into the game. But again, it's a great lesson just for us, just no matter what's going on the offensive end. Shots falling, not falling, defense has got to be there possession by possession.
In a blowout like Saturday, you get an opportunity to see a number of guys that maybe you haven't seen throughout the season. And one of those guys that stuck out was heralded top recruit, Kaden Cooper, who I know that we've talked about on this program before, just in terms of he doesn't look like a freshman, and they want to keep him coming on.
They do, and if we would have done this show back in October, I would have said flat out, I thought Cooper would be starting by now. The fact that he's not is not like a reprimand on him.
Sure.
It's not. It's more about what the guys coming off the bench that are older have been able to do instead of what Cooper hasn't been able to do. He will slow down a little bit with a sprained ankle, but that's well in the past now. But now it's just about staying with it and how tough that can be when you know going into every single game. You're not sure if you're going to get the minutes. You're not sure when those minutes are going to come. So I just thought the fact that Porter played him the final 11 minutes on Saturday tells me he has not lost faith in him, and that whatever Cooper's doing in practice is still, like, you can tell he's still with it as well.
After the game, Bob asked Porter Moser about Kaden Cooper.
Process has been all a credit to him. It's all a credit to Kaden and people around him because he has stayed patient. He's working in practice. He understands we got some older guys in front of us. He's not pouting. He's learning. He's watching tape. He's doing the whole process. And it is a credit to who he is and the people around him that he's just being patient. And we got up, and I wanted just to keep him in there. And sometimes it's long to go 10 or 11 minutes in a row. I thought right away he got simple rebounds and outletted. He did some good things. We made an adjustment at halftime on this one action they did, and he did it. So it's just a process. Just keep getting better, keep getting comfortable. Same thing we talked about with Ortega last year. And he's got some older guys in front of him, and he understands it. And there's going to be a time where we might need him. Or I shouldn't say we need him. And we need him to keep growing and getting better. And today he took a great step. He played a lot of minutes, and I thought he had really good, solid minutes. But it's a credit to him of just staying coachable and staying, patient, and to people around him. It's a credit to Kaden.
11 minutes, 4 points, as we said, for Kaden Cooper, the freshman that, I think he has that look about him.
Does.
It's like this guy's going to be very, very good. And especially if you can kind of see the development here over the course of the freshman season, like we saw in Los a year ago, like we saw in Otega Owe. I think that people are going to really like that. I mean, people kind of forget, myself included, Bob, this is recruiting, classes now, both of them that Porter's brought in here over the last 2 years that are highlighted by 2 top 100 guys in Los and in Otega last year, and then obviously Kaden Cooper and Jacob Cole, who I think will probably end up redshirting this year.
Yep, yeah.
So, I mean, it's starting to build. You can see the freshmen coming together, and it's been a nice complexion of putting all those veteran guys in, and the veteran guys are obviously going to have to play very well, and they've helped Oklahoma to a top 10 ranking, which leads into Wednesday night in the massive game that is OU North Carolina, a school that Oklahoma's never beat in basketball. The eyes, I guess you could say the eyes of the college basketball world are going to be on Charlotte, North Carolina come Wednesday night.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people are wondering, is this OU team for real, or has this been smoke and mirrors?
Sure.
Because we talked a little bit about it last week, but it's even more. USC gets destroyed by Auburn on Sunday. Like, these wins that we thought looked so good with Iowa, USC, they're quality, but they're not the quad one wins that you thought they were really going to be. And people are pointing toward the fact, OU hasn't played a true road game. Wednesday is still not a true road game, but it's as close as you're ever going to get. But there's a lot of questions that need to be answered about this team, and I think we'll find it out beginning in Charlotte.
Slowly but surely. On Tuesday, Porter Moser spoke with the media, with all of us back here in Oklahoma, talking on the matchup with North Carolina.
They put the matchups with the bigs, obviously Sam and John, taking their turns, being physical and trying to, they got to win the battle of the catch with Baycott. Okay. They got to win there's two battles. I feel like I'm quoting Rick Majerus. The first battle is the catch, and that's the unsung battle. Everybody always talks about the battle after the catch, but the unsung battle is the first battle. That's the battle of the catch. Where is he catching? Is he catching it heels in the paint, heels in the line, or is he catching it 2 or 3 feet off the block? So that first one is going to be a battle on how hard we work with Baycott. They'll come down and he'll work really hard to get a post up in transition. So we've got to do our work early with Baycott. Do it early. Don't do it late. If you're late on getting your position and working your feet, he'll pin you. So we got to do our work early on that matchup. I think Sam and John, they've been working a lot, all year. So they got another challenge. The matchups with RJ is it's got to be collective. Like they set a lot of ball screens. We got to be great in our ball screen defense. We can't let him just run wild in the ball screen. So our ball screen defense has been good, much better since the day one. And Sam has really improved in his ball screen defense. So that's a matchup. Obviously, Harrison Ingram is a key. I know everyone wants to right away talking about RJ Davis and Baycott, but Ingram's a really good player. He's a really good player. And, he's a guy that he's a strong wing. He's transferred from Stanford. So he's been a guy where he's been their leading scorer before at a high level. So he's a guy that we got to match his physicality. He's shooting the ball at a good percentage. Cormac Ryan, transferred from Notre Dame, a Corver, can't get him loose. He saw it going in a couple times against Kentucky. We've got to really match him up and not get him open looks. And then Kadu is their leading assist guy, really fast. He sprays the ball. We just can't let him. We've got to make sure we're staying home on the shooters when Kadu really smashes the paint off his dribble drive.
4 scores in double figures for North Carolina. Carolina obviously 7-3 now, coming in off of a loss against Kentucky.
Great game. Did you watch any of it?
I did not watch any of it. There was so much good sports on Saturday. Yes, I was wrapped in some other stuff. RJ Davis, Armando Baycott. Those are kind of, I think, 1A, 1B, though, when you're talking about this North Carolina team. RJ Davis averaging 21.6 points per game, just over 34 minutes a game. Doesn't seem like he ever leaves the floor. And then Armando Baycott, who
been around forever.
It literally seems like has been there for the last 50 years, even going all the way back to the Brady Manick days when they made the Final Four. And I know that was only a year and a half ago. But Armando Baycott, 29 minutes a game, 15.2 points per game, and then 11.3 rebounds per game. Harrison Ingram, Cormac Ryan, Elliot Cadeau, as Porter Moser said, it's a North Carolina basketball team, obviously very talented.
Yeah, look at Baycott. I circled that one just because of the rebounding aspect. 11 boards per game. We've mentioned what Sam Godwin can do, especially offensively. If John Hughley and Godwin, neutralize Baycott. Just don't let him put up a 25-15 type of performance. That's the type of thing we need to see from OU's bigs as they get going into Big 12 play. This is the first real test. We've seen players that might have the size of Baycott, or we've seen players that might have like a back-to-the-basket game, but never that combine all those elements into one solid player like Armando. We'll see what Hughley Godwin can do.
For a little bit more on Armando Baycott, as well as star guard RJ Davis, Porter Moser talked about that on the Zoom on Tuesday.
He's a tremendous scorer. He's experienced. He knows how to get angles. He's quick. He's got a quick spin move. He's got quick moves in there. Obviously, he's got length and touch. He's probably the best big man in the country. He's arguably he's one of them. But his quickness and length is You got to be ready for how quick he makes his moves, and he's got great touch. And then to your question about RJ, he's on a tear, 30, 30, 26, 27, whatever, he's just by sheer volume, you just want to keep him under, you want him to be a lot of shots to get his points, and you want to wear him out. He's going to play 36, 38 minutes. We've got to continue to run different guys at him, wear him out with our depth. But we've got to make him work for everything. He moves tremendously without the ball. Like he'll hunt that three. He'll come flying by. If you lose vision on him, he's great at making you pay. If you lose vision on him, he'll get lost, and all of a sudden he's catching it and shooting three. He's just tremendous, one of the best scorers in college basketball. He's got great speed with the ball in the open court. He gets to the foul line. Great scorers know how to get to the foul line. He knows how to get to the foul line. And that's something that he does very well. We got to keep him off that foul line. We got to slow him down in transition, and we can't lose him. We can't lose him and let him get easy threes. He's got to work for everything. We got to make him work for everything.
It's going to be kind of fun to just see where this thing's at. I feel like Wednesday night is a big barometer just in terms of, and not even really paying attention to the score as much as, can this Oklahoma team stay up with the North Carolina team? Because if you can, I think that all of a sudden you look at, and you can't just base everything on 40 minutes, right? But if you can stay up with this North Carolina team, maybe you do find yourself in a little bit better position than maybe you thought you were going to be going into conference play.
Yeah, you want to see where they stand after, again, some of these wins not meaning as much, the way that Arkansas has struggled. Like all these games that we thought were, this is the first test. This is the one that we're going to know. Has not panned out that way at all through the first month and a half. Carolina's going to stick around. They could lose. It's not going to matter. They're still going to be one of the better teams throughout the course of the entire season. So you're going to get a much better idea. I'm wondering about that environment. I get it. A lot of the older guys, they've been through some of these road environments, but never as a collection, as a group that they're going to be. Because that's been one of the knocks on OU from some of the national people. Haven't been on the road, haven't played a quad one. Not, they don't have a quad one win.
Yeah.
They haven't played a quadrant one game this season. That all changes Wednesday night.
And it'll be interesting just in terms of, those runs. The runs are different on the road, and particularly when you're playing down the street from Chapel Hill, basically in Charlotte, in your own backyard with, however many North Carolina fans that will be there on Wednesday night. Porter Moser did talk about kind of going on the road somewhat for the first time this season.
You got to embrace it. You got to communicate. Now, you couldn't tell the ratio of Arkansas because of the same colors. So you couldn't tell, but it got loud with Arkansas, with that. So we know it's going to be loud. The good thing about it is like, you're not coming off the bench with, we're playing one true freshman right now is Kaden, and he's in that eight though. Latrey's played in a million games. John has played in a million games. John's actually played in Carolina and done well. Jalen Moore has played in Carolina at Georgia Tech, So, Waldo has played in big atmospheres. Tega, Sam, and Los played at Kansas last year. So I think sometimes when you're a true freshman, sometimes these atmospheres, once you start doing it, you embrace it, man. That's what you want. You love college basketball like that. So the thing you got to be aware of is runs, when it's going loud, if they're on a 4-0 run, what do you want when another team's making a run? You want a good possession. You want to be solid with the ball. You don't need grand slams when they're on a 4-0 run. You want to get a single or double or something, a nice play when we're making runs and stop that run. Sometimes people think the only way to stop a run is a grand slam, and you don't. So that's where that's what we're going to have to be aware of and I thought we did a great job of that with Arkansas. They started the second half on a run. The crowd was trying to get back into it. Boom, next thing you know, Javian scored 6 straight. Got fouled on a 3 and hit a 3, and we stopped that run. And that's what you're aware of in atmospheres like that is avoiding those big runs.
as Porter Moser said. Jalen Moore a year ago, ACC experience, obviously, at Georgia Tech, 15 points, 5 rebounds, and a 75-59 loss to North Carolina. On the other side of it, John Hughley, 18 points, 11 rebounds versus North Carolina during his time at Pittsburgh a year ago, I believe. So it's all there. I mean, it's kind of fun. This has been, I think, a lot better than people thought. A lot better than, and I don't really even know if I could say that it's better than what people thought. It's just, it's come together with a collection of guys that maybe kind of coalesce at the right time together.
Yeah, the chemistry that they've built in such a short period of time. That's what sticks out. And it's something that Waldo said Friday leading into Saturday's game. He's like, we've never been to the tournament. The entire team.
Not a single guy.
Only Porter has been
crazy.
to the. So you think
and he's been to basically the pinnacle.
Yeah. You think about Soares at Oregon and Darthard being, first team all conference at Utah Valley State and Hughley at Pitt. Like, if they were the number one options, it didn't work. And I think that's what's made it easier to say, just play your 10, 15 minutes. Because as a collective whole, that's going to get us to the tournament.
Sure.
And it just seems like they're all buying into it. And if they were to win Wednesday night, you could almost guarantee they'd be undefeated going into January 6th. That sounds crazy.
There's a lot of people undefeated on January 6th, per sources. It'll be interesting to see also when you look at, just individually how a Javier McCollum, you would imagine from what we've seen through the first 10 games and what we've kind of learned about him, guy's kind of a gamer. Like he likes the big moment. He likes the stars or the bright lights that maybe a BOK center offered against Arkansas. It's going to be interesting to see how he matches up with somebody like an RJ Davis, or not matches up, but head-to-head offensive battles going back and forth.
Yeah, he's done a great job in my mind of being able to adjust within the game. Like, Saturday wasn't a scoring game for him.
Sure.
That's fine. 8 assists. Like, he can show he can beat you in other ways, and he can think his way through the process, through the first 5-6 minutes of the first half, and then start, okay, this is how we need to attack. This is who we need to get involved. This is how the offense needs to run. Him and Los can both do that at such a high level, very quickly make that type of decision, and they're going to have to do it again Wednesday.
From 25 to 19 to 11 to the number 7 team in the country, Oklahoma now 10-0 on the season. I know that we don't pay a whole lot of attention to it early, but Joe Lenardi comes out with his bracketology on Tuesday morning. Number 2 seed,
number
8 overall. It's simply incredible for a team that is, just I think when we started at the beginning of the season, just make the NCAA tournament. You get through Wednesday night. If you walk out of Charlotte in the Jordan Classic with the win, all of a sudden I think those expectations get to the second weekend. And we'll see. And obviously the Big 12 is going to be extremely good. A bunch of teams littered throughout bracketology, the net rating, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the last weekend with Kansas, when at Indiana, the way Houston fought through the Aggies. It's just one game after another. And all those teams, you feel like they might have been tested a little bit better than OU, which is why this game is so important, because there have been teams that have been through the grind. In fact, before OU and Carolina, you have Baylor versus Duke.
Sure.
It's not the same event, but it's also going on Wednesday, and you just get an idea.
Wednesday's a nice night for college basketball.
Yes, where it's just none of these teams in this conference have been scared to schedule the big dogs and see where they stand.
You better, because if you're not ready for it by the time conference play starts, it'll get nasty. It'll get nasty rather quickly. Once again, a good time to join Soonerscoop.com. A really good deal going on right now, $54.99 for 1 year of Soonerscoop.com. As obviously we are getting to the end of the recruiting cycle with early National Signing Day coming up on Wednesday, and plenty of coverage there with a number of guys. We have plenty of stuff in store for you right here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube page in terms of everything that we will be doing for National Signing Day. We talked to George Stoyan, and I talked to a number of guys kind of just about their recruitment, their relationships with Brent Venables and their position coaches, which I think is going to be a lot of fun for everybody to see. And then Wednesday night, a live show with George Stoya, myself, and Josh McQuistion talking everything for Oklahoma's 2024 recruiting class. That kind of leads into what is going to be a fun one coming up on Wednesday night in Charlotte.
Absolutely. You got Brent Venables nice and early. Feels pretty confident what that class is looking like. Then you come back here, you check out the live stream, take a little break, get ready for the Sooners at night.
And it's going to be, I think, a late-ish tip-off. I think that there's a game before Oklahoma and North Carolina on Wednesday night. So, you guys know the drill. 30 minutes probably first tip on that one. Bob, we appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens on Wednesday night.
Absolutely. We gotta find out.
Absolutely. We will see you right back here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube page. Until next time, he is Bob Przybylo. I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll talk to you then.